Okay, and I discussed maybe one of these examples, and I said you can have a look at the other one. Okay, I believe this one, the main thing was that one is for a smaller project, this one was for a bigger project. So you can see the tasks like project initiation and procurement, because project closeout, commissioning, testing, because the project is big, so even these things will take a lot of time and effort. So the message was that you decide the phases and the breakdown of your project according to the amount of work required in them. So for a project, a smaller project, procurement may not be a phase, testing, commissioning may not be a phase, because it will just take like 2 hours of going around, okay, to do the commissioning and testing and these things. Okay, so moving on, you can relate the cost estimation with the WBS as well. You already taken the cost estimation course, so you know how to calculate the cost of different activities of the project. Okay, especially the ones which are related to the work. Okay, like the construction work. So in the work breakdown structure, you can write the cost of each activity, each work package. For example, you see here the first design phase. This is the duration and this is the cost. Okay, same thing here, same thing here. The important part is we need to define the cost and duration of the end of the work breakdown structure activities, so the last ones. Okay, and the one which is on the top will be a simple summation of these things. Okay, especially the cost, we will talk about duration later on as well, but for the cost it is confirmed that the cost of this activity will be this plus this. Okay, if you have anything more, then you will add those as well. Okay, so 10 from here, 10 from here, total 14,000. Okay, similarly the cost of the project is the summation of each of the lower levels of phases. Okay, so I add 14 from here, 10 from here, 9 6 from here, and I get the total cost. Okay, so in terms of cost, you need to define the cost of the lowest level. Okay, for the other levels we just sum them. Okay, and we talked about the dependency between work breakdown and project timeline as well. So you can define the duration of each task and the dependencies between them, and later on they can be added together to find the duration of the whole project or the whole phase. Okay, so this sort of a interface is used to show the Gantt chart plus the timeline. Okay, so you can see the Gantt chart as well as the timeline. Here you can see the Gantt chart with the cost as well as the duration. But I told you duration is not simple summation. So this one is a more accurate representation of duration, the timeline. Okay, the reason you can see it over here. Okay, this activity and this activity and this activity and this one, all of them are starting together. Okay, 4 different activities starting together. Okay, and this one finishes in maybe 2 weeks or something. Okay, the rest are finishing in 1 week or less. So the total time of this phase is 2 weeks, which is the duration of the longest. Okay, so we didn't do this plus this plus this plus this. Okay, so there is no addition here. Okay, so in the timeline, this is a more accurate representation because it can cater for the overlapping between different activities. Okay, for the cost it doesn't matter. Okay, because a simple summation in the end. Okay, similarly you can integrate between WBS and risk management. Okay, and we will cover entire topic on risk management later on. Here we are talking about not risk management, but how WBS can be tied to risk management. Okay, so for each activity in the WBS, you can define two things. So just to give you a brief, what risk management is, risk management basically involves two things. Risk management involves two things. Okay, for any event which can happen in that project, you have to define two things. What is the chance of that event happening? Okay, how likely is this event to happen? And if that event happens, what will be the impact? Okay, and these things are usually defined in relative terms. Okay, so we don't say, okay, the chance is exactly 2% or 3%, relative. Okay, is it high or low, which you can see in these figures over here. Can I zoom in? Yeah, I can. Okay, so you can see the likelihood. So you don't see the percentage here. Okay, 1%, 2%, 3%. Not, it's not like this. It is, okay, it's very rare, or it's very unlikely, maybe more chances of happening, very high chances of happening. Okay, so this is a relative scale. Okay, and the same thing for the impact as well. If this event happens, what will be the impact? Relative impact. Okay, if the impact is very high, so we are not saying, okay, the impact will be 1000 BD or 2 days of delay. No, is it high or low? Okay, so relative terms, subjective, not exact quantities. We don't want quantities here. In both cases, likelihood impact, we're not talking about quantities. So if for every WBS activity, you can define its likelihood, the likelihood of its risks and the impact of those risks. Okay, so if an event has high likelihood and high impact, so it is very likely to happen, and if it happens, it will have a very high impact. So that activity or that risk will have will need more attention. Okay, you have to properly plan for it. Okay, but if any of these things is very low, either the likelihood is low or the impact is low, then those risks are very you can ignore them maybe. Okay, so for example, earthquake in Bahrain is a very 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 rare uh, event. Okay, it may not have happened for many many years. Okay, so you can ignore it. And most of that building design, we don't consider earthquakes. Okay, or in construction activities, we don't consider earthquakes. Okay, so or there could be events which are very likely, but the impact is very low. Okay, for example, uh, uh, what example can I give you? The event which is very likely to happen is uh, maybe material shortage, let's say. Okay, you are using a material which is not often found in the market, so material shortage is very likely to happen. Okay, but that material, you are only using it for painting of external walls, that's it. Okay, so if that risk event happens, there's material shortage, so your whole project will not be delayed. Only the external paint, which is the last activity, almost the last activity, will be delayed by a few days. So the impact is very low. Okay, so just to give you an idea. So going back to the point, for every work breakdown structure, for every work breakdown structure activity, you can identify the risk, and for these risks, you can identify how likely are they and how much will be their impact in relative terms. And according to that, you can allocate resources, you can plan for it, you can plan for strategies, and do what and plan how you can cope with it. Okay, so it can be done in this way, like a matrix, or it can be done in this way, like like a graph. Okay, so opportunities on this side, threats on the other side. Opportunities means good events, threats means bad events. The opportunities can be prices going down, okay, or new equipment coming in the market which is more effective and more efficient. These are opportunities, and the threats are material shortage, earthquake, heavy rain, these sort of things. Okay, so for each case you can make a graph like this. What is the probability of happening, and what is the impact if it happens. Okay, so but the point is this can be linked to WBS because you will define the risks for activities, and activities will come from WBS. Okay, so this was the thing. Okay, this was written when I was assuming that we were doing physical classes, not assuming we were doing physical classes, but we already shifted to online, so I believe you already have laptop, tablet, something. Okay, basically we will be trying to use Excel, and before the next lecture, I will check if I can, somehow arrange for any software on which you can see the Gantt charts and these things. Okay, so I will check if anybody has access to any project management software, Primavera, Microsoft Project. Okay, you let me know. Okay, I can you can share and you can tell me how we can use it, and we will try to use it. Okay, especially these two. Okay, I'll write it here for your record. So either Primavera is the most important one, also called as P6, or Microsoft Project, also called as MSP. Okay, so if you get any uh, access to these things, you let me know. Okay, and share with me so I can we can use it in the class. Okay, so moving on. But for now, we can do it using Excel. Okay, we are just looking at the Gantt chart. We can do it using Excel, and whatever we are doing, we can do it manually, no problem. Okay, but if you can start using software in the class, it will be an added skill for you. Okay, and the software for management are very easy, like they are just tabular format, and you add like you are adding things in Excel or something. Okay, so they are not as difficult as AutoCAD or uh, MATLAB or something. Okay, you don't need a lot of programming or a lot of sketching and drawing for that. They are relatively easy. Okay, so we will see, and you can try to keep up with me. Okay, so in this now these from these lecture onwards, we will be talking about schedule and time management for the construction project. Okay, so what are the things we will cover? Uh, we will cover Gantt chart, which is a representation of project schedule. Okay, Gantt chart or bar chart is a representation of project schedule, project timeline. So how to represent it, and then we move on to two methods which are used for analyzing project timeline. Okay, so the first one is a representation method, the second one is the next two are analysis methods. Okay, so you can analyze a project timeline using critical path method or PERT technique, which is the full form, which is the short form of program evaluation and review technique. Okay, so you can analyze the timeline of the project using CPM method, critical path method, or PERT method, which is program evaluation and review technique. Okay, and why we do this? Why are we focusing on project timeline and its analysis? Because then uh, you can plan for delivering projects on time. You can use your resources according to the project timeline. I posed a question when we were doing it physical, that if you have three projects, all of them need the excavator. Okay, but you have two excavators. So does it mean I will leave the third project? Should I leave the third project? No, I will manage the timeline. Okay, so I can use my two excavators in three projects in different times. Okay, same thing happens on a signal, right? On a traffic light, what happens? All vehicles cannot go at the same time. So I manage the time, and the vehicles can go in different timings. So the Gantt chart or the analysis of the timeline helps us to finish the project on time, to manage our resources, and to meet the deadlines, the important deadlines which are even during the project. So you can track the project as well. Okay, so tracking can be done as well. Okay, we discussed 11 areas of project management, knowledge areas of project management. So this lecture or this topic deals with project schedule management. Okay, project schedule management. Okay, uh, the expected time assignment of each phase of a project uh, can be like this. Okay, so this is expected. Okay, but it can be more or less in actual terms. When you're doing it for a specific project, you may have more time in execution and less time in monitoring, controlling, okay, or more time in planning, okay, something like this. But this is what we have already covered, the different phases of project life cycle and how the time is supposed to be divided or expected to be divided. Okay, this slide gives you definitions of some of the important terms. Starting with the very basic unit of a WBS, which is an activity, or very basic unit of a project work, which is an activity. Okay, so an activity is one particular stage of project plan. Okay, not the project, the plan of the project. Okay, it is the lowest level of a WBS structure, and it is actually part of a work package. So if you remember, who remembers what is the work package? Who will tell me what is the work package? Tell me, what is a work package? Yes, what is the work package? Yes, WBS, work package. What is it? फ्रिज मत है फ्रिज मत है फ्रिज मत है Yes, anyone? Okay, no problem. We'll move on. So, WBS, an activity can be a subtask in the work package, which you don't know what is it. And an activity contains a task or a list of tasks or actions that will give you a particular output. Okay, that will give you a particular output. So, duration, what is the duration? The time taken by one activity. The time taken by one activity. Or it can be the time taken by a complete group of activities. Just give me 1 second.
I'll check if I have. Just here.
Okay, sorry for that. Moving on. So, duration is the time taken for one activity or a group of activities which can mark the end of a stage, and it can be in terms of days, weeks, or hours, depending upon the type of activity you have. So, if it is just form work, it can be in hours. If it is concreting, it can be in days. If it is design, it can be in weeks. Okay, then you have dependency. Dependency means how one activity relates to the other. Okay, how one activity relates to the other. Or dependency means if an activity cannot start because of another activity. Okay, when the start of one activity depends upon the start of another activity. Okay, that is called dependency. Now, can somebody give me an example of uh, construction activities which are depending upon each other? Okay, any two construction activities which depend upon each other. Like I cannot do one before completing the other one. Is there any active? Are there any two activities like this? Any two activities in the construction project where one activity has to finish before we have the other activity. Yes, formwork and concreting. Yes. So uh, you have to complete the installation of the formwork for starting the concreting work. Okay, and the same can be said for steel placement and concreting. Okay, or concreting and removal of formwork. So yes, this is a good example, Haura. Thank you. Moving on. So then we have milestones, which are specific points during the project life cycle that mark important events. So you can evaluate your projects at these milestones. Okay, so we will have a meeting after every milestone is reached, and that can depend upon the type of work you have and so on. Okay, then we have two start dates. Every activity can have, not necessarily. It may have two start dates. Okay, one is early start, the other one is late start. Okay, start we know. Start means the start date means the date on which the activity will start, the time on which the activity will start. Okay, it can be there can be an early time for it, there can be a late time for it. Okay, for example, a teacher says that you can enter in my class within the first 10 minutes. Okay, so now uh, you when you are coming out from your house, you know, if I leave at this time, I'll it exactly at the start of the class. If I leave at this time, I'll still be within the first 10 minutes. Okay, so there's an early start where you will reach exactly at the start time of the class, or there's a late start where you will reach at the within the given time. Okay, so late start, you know, doesn't mean that with delay. Okay, late start means the start which will not cause delay, allowable late. Okay, not late. Then it can be any late, like it can be after 2 years, 3 years. Okay, we are not talking about that late. We are talking about that late start, which is still allowed. It will not impact the project, the timeline of the project. Okay. For example, we looked at the shed example in the last slides. Okay, so we were supposed to construct a shed. I believe it should be here. Yeah, this one. Okay, so now you can see here buying the blocks and building the foundation and so on and so forth, and assembling the building the foundation. Okay, so it was here. Okay, and then we said that it needs some time for curing as well, so it should be somewhere here. Okay, so we did this. Okay, so now you look at buying the blocks. Okay, so in the first case we are buying the blocks on the 6th day. In this case we are buying the blocks on the first 0 day, the start of the project. Okay, so this is the early start and this one is the late start. If you buy the blocks after it, your foundation will be delayed. When the foundation is delayed, that means assembly will be delayed as well. Okay, so you will not finish the project within the 10 days time, but within these days you will still finish the project in 10 days. So this one is finishing in 10 days. This one is also finishing in 10 days. Okay, so the duration of the project is not changed. Okay, but the activities are going backward and forward. Okay, so for buying the blocks and building the foundation, there are two start dates, this one and this one. So these are the late dates and these are the early dates. Okay, now for assembly, for order, you can see the early and late is the same here, first and the last activity, and this one, they are same. So in this, for these two activities, there is no early or late, they are the same. Early and late is the same. Okay, so that's why I said every activity in the project can have an early start or a late start. Okay, can have, not must, and if they have, it can be same as well. Okay, then we have the float or the slack. Okay, which is the amount of time a task can be delayed without affecting the deadlines of other tasks or the project's final delivery. Okay, basically the difference between late and early start. The difference between late and early start is called the float or the slack. Okay, so as I told you, and I showed you in the example as well, when I shift the activities between early and late time, the project duration remains the same. Okay, the project duration remains the same. So float is that amount of time where you can shift an activity without affecting the project duration. Okay, so there is difference between early and late start basically. Okay, then Gantt chart is a graphical representation of activity against time. So you see the list of activities and you see their duration and timeline. Okay, it's a very important tool that managers use for planning and scheduling. Okay, and it is used for all sizes of the project and even all types of projects as well. Okay, it's not only for construction projects, for software designing, for industrial projects, for any sort of projects. Okay, so we use Gantt chart. Okay, even for our committee tasks. Okay, so if we have like a sort of a committee in the department when we are doing updating the syllabus, making a new program, okay, or thinking how we can annoy you and we can put more stress on the students, all these things, we make our own timeline. Okay, and those timelines are in the form of Gantt charts basically. The Gantt chart is a very popular tool which is used by all sorts of professionals. Okay, and the main advantage is visualization. Okay, the main core advantage of Gantt chart is you can visualize the entire project. Okay, and you can monitor it. Okay, uh, and you can schedule the task according. You can see the scheduling of the task in the Gantt chart. So Gantt chart obviously shows you timelines. You can mark your milestones within the Gantt chart. So after activity 10, I will have the first milestone. After activity 15, next milestone, and you can mark them. Okay, first milestone, second milestone. Mark them with the date, or mark them with the day on which it will be achieved. You can show important dates on it, and some of the milestones can be important uh, for the reason which is outside the project. Okay, not because of the project. Okay, so I may have a milestone which is end of Ramadan, because after the Ramadan I will have the break, or I may have a milestone start of Ramadan, because in Ramadan my activity hours will change. Okay, so the milestones can be because you finished a specific type of or a specific stage of the project, or the milestone may be set because something happened outside the project which is important for the project as well. Okay, like I gave the examples. And within the Gantt chart you can show dependencies as well, and this is where I gave you the names of the other softwares, Primavera and Microsoft Project. They can especially help you with these things. Okay, so any Gantt chart can give you a timeline. Okay, but the dependencies and milestones, and to make them interactive. Okay, so these softwares allow you to change these things on real time basis. Okay, I can like play around with them on the chart itself. If you are using Excel or some other simple tool like this, then everything has to be done manually. Okay, so dependency you have to define manually. If you change it, then you have to go at each activity and change it yourself and so on and so forth. Okay, the timeline and tasks are converted into horizontal bars. That's why we also call it the bar chart. Okay, these bars go from the start to the end of the activity. Okay, and the dependency deadlines are also shown. Okay, and you can also show who is the owner of the task, who is like supposed to complete the task. So you can write within the bar who is supposed to complete the bar, the yeah the bar or the activity, and you can also uh, write the percentage of work which is completed from the project through this activity. So concreting is, let's say, 20% of the whole project. Okay, so you can write additional information on the Gantt chart as well. If you are using the softwares, then the softwares do it for you. Like you define the total duration and duration of each activity, total cost of each activity, it will give you a percentage by itself. So when you finish one activity, you know how much of the project you have completed. Okay, so they show planning of activity against time, and the activities will obviously come from the WBS. Okay, Gantt charts are used for tracking. Okay, and people from different backgrounds can use it very easily. So if you have a big team which has contractor and client and the supplier and the labor and everything, the labor supervisor, the project manager, everybody, then these people can easily track the project from this Gantt charts. Does not have some technical information which this person can understand and this person cannot understand. Okay, it's quite easy. Okay, and they can be used for finding out the longest path. Okay, the longest path to complete the project, which is also called as the critical path. Okay, you may have heard the quote that the strength of the chain is the same or equal to the strength of the weakest link. Okay, so because when you break the weakest link, the whole chain will break. Okay, the same goes with the project as well. Okay, the longest path from start to end is the duration of the project. Okay, the longest path from start to end. Path means, so they are using the term path here, the longest path and the critical path. Path means a series or sequence of activities. Okay, a series or sequence of activities. Okay, so this is what we call as a path. Okay, so if I go to this example, okay, so one sequence is this and this order, assemble. This is like one sequence. Another sequence is buy blocks, build foundation, assemble. Okay, so there are two sequences here. This, after this one. Another sequence is this, and then this. Okay, this is another sequence. Ordering is not depending upon buying the blocks, right? Okay, ordering of the shed does not depend upon buying the blocks. Okay, so this is not one sequence. Okay, but ordering the shade and assembling the shade are depending upon each other. So this is one sequence. And the sequence is you buy the blocks, you make the foundation, then you assemble. So this is another sequence. These are activities depend upon each other. Okay, so there are two sequences, this plus this, and then we have this plus this plus this. Okay, so if I go to this timeline and I do this plus this plus this. Okay, so 1 day here, 2 day here, 1 plus 2 3 plus 1 4, 4 days. If I go according to this sequence, this is 4 days. If I go according to this sequence, order takes 9 days, then plus 1 day for assembly, so 9 plus 1 10. Okay, so this one 1 plus 2 plus 1 4 days, this one 9 plus 1 10 days. Which one is critical? Which one is my critical path? There are two paths here. One only shows sequence of activities with 4 days. The other one shows sequence of activities with 10 days. Which one is my critical path? Tell me. The good thing about taking class on Blackboard is if you type something and so I get the notification, I can go and check. So which one is the critical path? The 4 days or the 10 days? Tell me. 10 days, yes. Okay, because the logic is if you do not finish the ordering, there is no shed to assemble. Okay, so this is why it is the critical path. Okay, so this is what they are saying here. The longest path is the critical path. Okay, so moving on. So this is like this is the Gantt chart. Okay, so you can see the integration with WBS. It shows the different phases of WBS, the different deliverables. Okay, and then on the right hand side you can see the timeline, and the timeline is in weeks, but the one which I showed you with the shed, it was in days, and in some cases it can be months as well. So it depends upon the duration of the project. Okay, so this Gantt chart gives you the visual display of the whole project. Okay, then all the activities and their distribution, like how many phases you have. In this case you have 5 phases. Okay, and what are the activities in each phase, you can see it over here. You can see for each activity the timeline and the deadline, like the duration and when it is supposed to start, when it is supposed to end. You can see the relationships and the dependencies. Now this Gantt chart is very simplistic, so you cannot see the dependencies very clearly here. Okay, you cannot see the dependencies very clearly here. Let me give an example over here. In this case, okay, so here I see 4 activities. Okay, is assembly depending upon ordering? Okay, I don't know. From here I don't know. Yes, I know that it depends, but if I look at the chart I don't know. Okay, they may be depending upon each other, they may not be depending upon each other. Okay, building the foundation and ordering the shed, are they depending upon each other? Same answer, I don't know. Buying the block, building the foundation, are they depending upon each other? I don't know. Maybe somebody put them here one after another just by chance. They can be 2 activities which I put one after the other just by chance. Okay, because I have resources, I want to start the foundation on day 7. Okay, but should I complete buying the blocks before this activity from this graph? I don't know. Okay, so this one is a very simplistic Gantt chart, and this is the thing which you can even draw in Excel as well, but this is more professional. So you can see from one activity to the next activity the dependencies. So this activity depends upon or is affecting this one. Okay, so it depends or it affects this one, this one, and this one, and this one. So it is affecting maybe 4 activities, and this one only depends this or only affects this one. Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you can see the dependencies, and you can see dependencies can be multiple as well. One activity may have multiple dependencies, may be affecting multiple activities. So we gave the example of the formwork. The formwork affects concrete, and the formwork affects the placement of steel as well. Okay, so you can have multiple dependencies of the same activity, but you can see it over here, but not in this particular Gantt chart. Okay, so this is the one which you can even draw with Excel as well, but it has less information, and you can see the project phases like I mentioned. So these timelines can help project manager to look at the workloads as well. Okay, and they can look at the availability of the teams as well, which team is available when. Okay, let me zoom in. Okay, so let's say I have a team for electrical works. Okay, so you can see this team is doing 3 weeks work here, then they are available for 1 week, and they will be busy for 2 weeks again. Okay, let's say I have a team for mechanical works. So the mechanical work teams is doing 2 weeks here, then they have a 4 week break, and then they are busy 2 weeks on this side. Okay, so in these 4 weeks, I can use the same team on some other project or for some other activity if they are labor or something. Okay, so this is the Gantt chart can help you see the management of the teams as well, the management of the resources. Okay, you can see the excavation now. Excavation is only in the first week here. So if I have anything which happens after this and I need an excavator over there, I can shift it after the first week. But the first week I need it here. Okay, so the Gantt chart can help you look at the availability of the teams. You can assign them properly, and you can do more accurate scheduling. Okay, because you know each activity is supposed to start when and end when. Okay, so Gantt charts have been proposed for more than 1 century, and it was given by Henry Gantt. That's why they are called Gantt charts, and they were done. It was in 1910. I'm sure this information looks like I don't it's there. Okay, if you remember it. Okay, so as I mentioned, they are very popular among different fields. Okay, and this is the arrangement we usually have: activities on the left hand side and the timeline on the right hand side. Okay, so on the Gantt chart, when you look at it, you know the start of the activity, the end of the activity. Okay, you can see the duration of the activity. You can see the overlapping between the activities as well. Okay, now overlapping is something else and dependency is something else. Okay, so two activities may be overlapping just by chance, but dependency means that they have to be one after another. Okay, and you can see the start and end of the whole project. Okay, so if I look at this Gantt chart, I know the project starts in week 1 and it takes 21 weeks. Okay, and you can see the overlapping here as well. So there's an overlapping between laying of the bricks for the wall and the plastering for the brick for the wall. So when you do like half of the walls with the brick laying, you start with the plastering. You start with the plastering. Okay, I don't see any other overlapping here, but this is yeah. Okay, so how to create the Gantt chart? First of all, the first thing you need is a list of activities. Okay, the first thing you need is a list of activities. Second thing which you need is defining the task durations. Okay, you have to define the duration of every task. The third thing which you need is identify the task dependencies. Okay, which tasks are depending upon the other tasks. Okay, and then you plot these tasks on a timeline. Okay, so let's say we have this project, which is the construction of a community center. Okay, now the timeline is given on the next slide. Okay, but I would like to develop this with you so you have an idea about the process. Okay, so I have the list of activities, and yes, I should have come better prepared and listed them down in advance, but I will waste your time. Okay, so I will go with activities in the, I will not write the full name. You can see the definition and the scope. Okay, and I would advise you to go through this table later on so you can see the dependencies. Okay, so for example, site survey depends upon when the project is initiated. So you have already defined what you are doing. Okay. Design and planning also starts when the project is initiated. So initiation is affecting two activities. Okay. Then permits and approval can only be taken when the design is ready. Okay. Site preparation can be done when the site survey is done. Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay. So we are going from A to L. Okay. So you can see later on what each of them means. A, and we can do like this. What happened? D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Okay. Now duration in weeks. Okay, in weeks, and I have the first task takes 2 weeks. So let's say each of these bars is a week. Each of these column is a week. Okay, so this one takes 2 weeks. Okay, then after this one, site survey can start and designing and planning can start. Now both of them depend upon A. So once A is done, they both can start together. I don't see any other dependency for them. Okay, so B and C can start together. So B takes 3 weeks and C takes 4 weeks. Okay, then I go to D. D takes 3 weeks after C. 3 weeks after C. So when C is finished here, so 3 weeks from here. Okay, then I'm at activity E. So E 4 weeks after B. Okay, so sorry, I made a mistake here. Okay, so after C, and this one after B. So how many weeks after B? 4 weeks. Okay, then I go to F. So F after E 5 weeks. So where is E? E is here, 5 weeks.
Hey, Guardian. Knock, 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 knock. Please don't knock. A gift. A baby present.
Okay, then I go to where am I? I'm in G. Okay, and G means it will start after F for 6 weeks. Okay, so after F, start from here for 6 weeks. And so on and so forth. Okay, so you have the idea now. Okay, so I can show you now the real one, the full, okay, Gantt chart. And there is a template here available. I believe this is for Excel. Okay, so you can download it, have a look at it. Okay, so this is what the Gantt chart would look like. You will have the weeks over here, and this is how you will go. You go to each activity, you will see if there is a dependency. Okay, if there is a dependency, then you go to that activity and start after that activity and up to the duration. Okay, so activity A, no dependency. Activity B and C, depending upon A. So after A, you start them and you go full duration. Okay, so 3 weeks here, 4 weeks here. Okay, and then the same thing for the other activities. Okay, so you can see some overlapping here, some overlapping here, some overlapping here. Okay, so overlapping is coming naturally. Okay, it's coming by chance, like I mentioned earlier. I'm not planning it that these two activities should be overlapped, but it is coming naturally. Okay, because I already defined the dependency. Okay, so you have to define the dependency properly. If you did not do it properly, then you will see overlapping, which is not possible. Okay, so maybe site survey or design depends upon site survey as well. Maybe because site survey, the designer wants to know what is the size of the plot. Okay, so maybe there is a dependency missing. So now you will see this overlapping here. This is not possible. Okay. So the important point here is that when you are defining your dependencies, go through it thoroughly. Okay, double check it, triple check it. Okay. So that in the end, you do not make mistake with these overlapping, because now you can see, if let's say C depends upon B, then B will be shifted 3 weeks forward. Okay, or C will be shifted 3 weeks forward because I have to wait for B to finish. Okay, so you are miscalculating the duration of the project by 3 weeks. Okay, which is a lot. Okay, so this one mistake can cost you weeks of delay, or can cost you a problem for 3 weeks. Okay, this is an example. Okay, then we have the ordering the shed, which I keep on showing you since the start of the class. Okay, we already know the activities, and this is the Gantt chart we have. Okay, we already did the shifting. Why we did the shifting? Anybody remembers why we shifted from here to here? So it was buying blocks, building foundation here. Okay, then we shifted it over here. Anybody remembers why we did that? Storage? No. Curing, yes. Curing. We shifted to give time for curing. Yes. Storage, yes. I mentioned something about storage as well. I will reiterate. We want to buy the blocks just before building the foundation, so we don't have to store them for many days. This was the storage linkage here. Okay, but the shifting of these two activities to here was because of curing. This was shifting was because of curing. This thing, yes, you buy the block just before building the foundation, was to avoid storage for longer times. Okay, so this is the storage story here. Okay, now if we have to produce the Gantt chart for this whole project, which is the community center project, and has, you can see, many levels. How many levels? 4 levels. Okay, it goes up to 4 levels, but all level 3 activities do not go to the 4th level. Okay, so only excavation activity goes to the 4th level. Okay, so you can see, if you have the duration and these things, if you can assign duration dependencies, you can produce a Gantt chart for this one as well. Okay, so what are the advantages and disadvantages for a Gantt chart? Okay, it is clear, visual, picture is better than 1000 words, right? Uh, Very simple to see, look, understand. Don't need technical information to understand it. Can be used to show progress and plan resources. I already showed you the examples. Okay, so if I'm on week 4, then this is my progress, or this should be my progress. Okay, which are the teams which are working? These two teams are working, designer and site survey. Other teams are not doing anything, so it can help you in this. It can be linked to risk register and risk management, which we will see later on. Okay, Gantt chart, as I mentioned earlier, you have to attach it with some software to see the dependencies cannot be seen in the Gantt chart. In the example which we were doing, I had to use this table to show the dependency. You can see the dependencies in the last column. The Gantt chart was not showing it because I was using just Excel. Okay, size of the Gantt chart is a big problem. If the project is 5 years, let's say some big project, then Gantt chart practically becomes unusable. You have to use it in small slots, small stages. Okay, I will only focus on first 6 months or 1 year or something. Uh, for changes in scope, you have to change the entire Gantt chart. If there is a change in the scope, you have to change the entire Gantt chart, even if you are doing it on a project, on a software. Okay, so it's a lot of rework if something changes in the project timeline or scope or anything. Okay, so this is where I will stop. I'll give you a couple of minutes more to do your attendance thing. Okay.